There are moments in life when the world feels cold, not just in temperature, but in spirit. The streets are quiet, the air carries a chill, and everything around seems distant. Yet, in that same coldness, something deeply human emerges. The longing to connect, to touch, to feel warmth not from the world, but from one another. Kissing in the cold isn't merely about romance. It's a metaphor for courage. The courage to love when the world feels uninviting. It reminds us that love is not always surrounded by comfort. Sometimes it breathes in the middle of storms, in the frost of uncertainty, and in the silence of two people standing close enough to share breath in the bitter air. From a psychological perspective, the act of showing affection in adversity teaches resilience. When two individuals connect in the cold, it signifies a deeper truth. That warmth is not given by the environment, but generated by the heart. The human mind, when faced with hardship, seeks connection because connection heals. In that healing, we rediscover our shared humanity. Educationally, this concept mirrors what social scientists describe as emotional regulation through attachment. When people express care even in distress, they strengthen emotional endurance. It's a reminder that affection is not just sentiment, it's a survival mechanism. Imagine standing beneath a dim street light, surrounded by winter's breath, and sharing a moment of stillness. That small act becomes a lesson in mindfulness, to be present, to find beauty in discomfort, to value sincerity over perfection. The cold does not destroy love, it defines its depth. In literature and art, contrasts have always been the most powerful teachers. The darker the night, the brighter the flame appears. The colder the air, the more precious a single touch becomes. Kissing in the cold captures that educational truth, that emotion is magnified when tested. Ultimately, this idea encourages us to see love as an educator. It teaches patience when things freeze around us, empathy when others retreat into silence, and tenderness even when comfort disappears. To kiss in the cold is to say, I choose warmth, even when the world doesn't offer it. And that is the lesson. Love, courage, and connection are not rewards of perfect circumstances. They are choices we make when everything else feels frozen. The warmth of connection is one of the most profound and universal needs of the human experience. It transcends time, culture, and circumstance. In the imagery of kissing in the cold, this warmth represents not only physical closeness, but also emotional and spiritual unity. When the world grows cold, when relationships face distance, when life becomes uncertain, when emotions feel frozen, it is this warmth that reminds us of our humanity. It is the quiet, unseen fire that burns within every heart, capable of melting even the harshest winters of the soul. The act of sharing warmth through affection, through understanding, through care, is what keeps human beings alive beyond the physical sense. It nurtures the psychological space where love, hope, and connection thrive. When two people share a moment in the cold, they are not merely fighting the temperature outside, they are symbolically challenging isolation. If the cold becomes a metaphor for everything that threatens to separate or numb the human spirit, fear, doubt, misunderstanding, or loneliness, in that space, a kiss becomes more than an expression of romance, it becomes an affirmation of life. It says, I am here with you, even when the world feels distant. That statement, though silent, carries immense power because it reflects the essence of emotional intelligence, the ability to stay warm in spirit even when surrounded by discomfort. It is this warmth that defines the strength of connection. It is easy to love when the sun is shining and the air feels soft, but to love in the cold is to love with intention, with courage, and with purity. From an educational perspective, this warmth represents emotional resilience and relational intelligence. It teaches that human connection is not dependent on circumstance, but rather on choice. Every time we reach out to someone in their moment of coldness, whether emotional or situational, we become agents of warmth. Psychologically, warmth creates safety, and safety nurtures trust. Trust, in turn, allows people to grow, to express themselves, and to find meaning even in difficulty. This is why, in counseling and emotional education, genuine connection is seen as the foundation of healing. The warmth that one person gives another can alter perspectives, inspire hope, and transform fear into faith. In the imagery of kissing in the cold, warmth also speaks of balance. It teaches that even in life's coldest hours, the human heart can generate enough light to sustain itself and others. This is not about escaping hardship, but about learning to find comfort within it. When two people share a moment of connection in the cold, they demonstrate that love is not destroyed by adversity, it is deepened by it. The cold, in this sense, becomes the classroom, and warmth becomes the lesson learned. The educational value here lies in the understanding that emotional connection is an active process. It must be nurtured, sustained, and shared even when external conditions discourage it. The warmth of connection reminds us that the greatest human strength is empathy. It is the invisible thread that ties one heart to another, regardless of circumstance. When we learn to recognize and value this warmth, we begin to approach relationships not as sources of convenience, but as sacred spaces of growth. To give warmth in the cold is to demonstrate a mature, selfless form of love, one that sees beyond the surface and reaches into the soul. It is a form of emotional wisdom that says the world may be cold, but we can still be kind. Life may be difficult, but we can still love. And in that choice, we find a power greater than the cold itself, the power to create warmth where none exists. The contrast between physical and emotional temperatures is one of the most fascinating aspects of human experience. It shows how external conditions can reflect inner realities, yet also how the human spirit can defy them. In the imagery of kissing in the cold, this contrast becomes a living metaphor. The outside world is cold, perhaps harsh and distant, but within that same moment, two hearts generate warmth that cannot be measured by temperature. It's an image that teaches through experience that emotional warmth has the power to transform physical discomfort. This is not only poetic, but deeply educational, as it connects the sensory with the emotional, showing how one can influence and even overcome the other. When we think about warmth, we often imagine comfort, security, and love. Coldness, on the other hand, suggests separation, loneliness, or hardship. Yet, when the two coexist, meaning is created. The cold environment amplifies the significance of the warmth shared between individuals. Without the cold, the kiss might be ordinary. Within the cold, it becomes extraordinary. This contrast is a reminder that value often emerges through opposition. We appreciate light because we know darkness, and we understand warmth because we have felt the cold. In education and philosophy alike, this principle teaches that contrast sharpens perception. It allows us to recognize beauty not in perfection, but in the interplay between opposites. Emotionally, the idea of kissing in the cold speaks to the resilience of love and connection. It suggests that when the world feels distant or unkind, the act of affection is not diminished but magnified. It shows that human beings are capable of generating their own climate of warmth, regardless of external conditions. This is a profound psychological truth. Emotional warmth can change one's perception of the environment. When we feel loved, safe, or seen, the world itself seems less hostile. Our internal state redefines our external experience. Thus, the contrast between the freezing air and the shared warmth becomes a reflection of how love and understanding can reshape reality from within. From an educational point of view, this teaches emotional regulation and empathy. The cold represents challenge, those moments in life when circumstances cannot be controlled. The warmth, however, represents choice, the decision to respond with care, compassion, or closeness. The lesson here is that we cannot always change what surrounds us, but we can always choose how we meet it. Just as two people decide to share a kiss in the cold, individuals can decide to bring warmth into difficult situations. This understanding nurtures emotional maturity. It shows that empathy and kindness are not reactions to comfort, they are deliberate acts of strength in discomfort. In literature, psychology, and even theology, warmth amid coldness often symbolizes hope. It suggests that human love and compassion are eternal forces that can resist even the harshest conditions. The cold, then, is not merely an obstacle, it is a backdrop that allows warmth to be seen more clearly. Kissing in the cold teaches us that emotional depth is often revealed in contrast, that love's most beautiful expression is found not in comfort, but in courage. When one chooses to give or receive warmth despite the cold, it becomes an act of faith, faith in love, in humanity, and in the enduring capacity of the heart to remain alive even in a frozen world. Ultimately, this contrast is not meant to divide but to educate. It reminds us that cold and warmth, hardship and connection are both essential to growth. Without coldness, warmth loses meaning. Without challenge, affection loses strength. Kissing in the cold, therefore, becomes a lesson in balance, to understand that even when life feels distant or unforgiving, we possess the power to create warmth through love, empathy, and human connection. It is through this delicate contrast that we learn the true temperature of the soul.